Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning into my video. This is The Raven Show on Rare Company TV. I hope that you enjoy. I understand that this series may be hard for a lot of you to watch, especially if you have been through anything traumatic. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video and the upcoming videos within this trauma series that I'm doing may be a bit hard to watch. It may be beneficial to watch it with someone else that you trust. If you yourself have experienced any of these things that I'm going to talk about, or you know someone who've experienced that, just sometimes knowing someone and seeing them go through something can be painful enough. And of course, if you've gone through it yourself, it's extremely hard. So I just want to offer my love, offer my support. That is what this channel is all about. I truly wanted to create a safe space. I used to always say that I'm going to wait until I grow my platform big enough and until I get X amount of followers to start doing these videos, because talking about things like this is not the most, it's uncomfortable. People don't want to have uncomfortable conversations, and I felt like I had to do more to get people's attention first, get them interested in me first, and then like push that stuff out. But I'm just realizing I may not have that much time. It's the coronavirus era, this pandemic is happening, a lot of uncertainty right now. So I just feel like it's just very important to get this out, especially with people being quarantined and locked away with abusers. There's so much stuff I'm going to address, from sexual assault to racism to intersectionality, to how we can change policies and what we need to be doing in our states and local government agencies. I will be talking about a lot of things, a lot of uncomfortable things that makes people feel uncomfortable, some parenting things, and then we're actually going to talk about a lot of good things too. So I don't want it to seem all dark, because it's not all dark. We're going to have a lot of fun, so just rock with me and stay tuned. Whatever of a volcano, because look at the culture of violence. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Raven Show, where it's all Raven all the time. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not, welcome back. And I know it's been a while, y'all. So first of all, the last video, oh, who's that? That is, okay. So the last video I posted was my girls trip vlog. That was my first business trip. If you haven't seen that, go check that out on my channel after this video. But this video, I know it's kind of hard. It will be hard for some people to watch. It's hard for me to talk about, but I just feel like for the longest, even with the description of what this channel is about, me being me, if you know me, and if you don't, go ahead and follow me on social media so you can get to know me. But if you already know me, you know how passionate I am about the work that I do. I am a violence prevention specialist, and I work for a child advocacy, domestic violence, and rape crisis center. And of course, with that, I see a lot of things. And a part of my job, and why my job is so important as a violence prevention specialist, is because I'm bringing in training to the community and to the youth in the schools. And we're doing trainings about violence prevention, teen dating violence, bystander intervention. We're teaching about gender stereotypes, teaching healthy masculinity for young guys, and all sorts of things like that. That's going to kind of reshape the culture of violence as we know it today. So anyway, that's just about my job. Get to that in another second. Well, I'm a survivor of sexual assault. I never want to consider myself a victim, and that's part of the reason why I feel like for so long I never said anything, because I never wanted that "oh, I'm sorry" from people, and people treated me like, I just never wanted that, because I'm okay, like I'm fine now, but and I'm still, it's still a process, but experience with you so that you can understand how it can affect a person and why it's so important to release and let it out. Because sometimes we develop defense mechanisms where we do things like push it down and unconsciously try to like forget about it and act like it never happened, but that only makes things worse. To an extent, I didn't realize that was what I was doing. So basically, I've been molested by 2 people, and I want to share my story because this is like a repeated thing that has happened like within my family and within other families across communities, and I'm tired of it being the kind of thing that people just like, you don't talk about this, you don't tell what's going on in the family, like you don't do this, because it's harmful to the family members, it's harmful to the victims or the survivors, and it's harmful to the community when things like this continue to happen. Like, we're only contributing to this violent culture where we say we want to create a safe space and protect our children, but most times we're protecting the perpetrators instead of the children, and we're re-victimizing the children or the victims, which makes no sense. So yeah, I just wanted to share because I don't think it's fair that my was in a situation where she was not only raped, but she got pregnant as a result of being raped, and just the scrutiny that she faced with just giving childbirth. Like, I remember her telling me the story of how she was in the hospital and she was screaming for her dad because she was in so much pain, and the nurse made a slick comment to her like, you wasn't screaming for your daddy when you was getting it or whatever. And who are you to judge somebody when you know nothing about their situation? It's disgusting. And when things like that happen and a young girl gets impregnated, that same thing, people just look at her and think, she fat, she this, she that. But no one thinks about the nightmare and the trauma that they face. And I used to think that I wanted to help people and that I just wanted to do this because it's just my passion and I love people, which I truly do, and I have an amazing heart. But at the same time, I do it also because I know what that pain is like, and I don't think it's fair for anyone individual, but especially for a child, to feel scared and afraid and alone and not know who to trust, because when you hear that someone is family, you know that they're supposed to look out for you, but sometimes they have other agendas and they do things to hurt you. Sometimes not knowing how to get that out, not knowing how to handle things, just goes back to what I was saying about trying to figure things out for yourself. Sometimes, a lot of times, especially in the African American community, we are trying to figure things out ourselves, and in that process of trying to figure things out ourselves, sometimes because we may think we have it figured out and we're not quite there yet, we can make a couple of wrong turns sometimes. So instead of making a wrong turn, think about it as if you had a map or a GPS, you know? Like, your GPS is guiding you and telling you where to go so that you don't get lost. It's the same thing with your brain, and you need your brain to be functioning properly and clearly and at a healthy mental capacity so that you are able to keep going and keep driving to your destination. And your destination is through life, right? So with that example, with that being said, sometimes our brain gets cloudy and sometimes things happen to us that affects certain parts of our brain and it truly messes us up. And until we fix that or address it properly, then it's going to continue to mess us up, even unconsciously, even if we don't realize it, because that's the exact same thing that's happened to me before. And it wasn't until I went to that training, which part of me kind of knew that there was something that I just pushed away. So I'm going to talk about what I went through, and this is kind of hard because I don't ever want anyone in my family to feel hurt or disrespected. Some things that I have to say and explain just to make it make sense, if that makes sense. Okay, so basically, long story short, when I was a young girl, I don't remember how old I was. I just know that I was very, very young. I was molested by a female cousin. This happened on multiple occasions. I can remember us having like this huge, like, it looked like a 2-story doghouse outside my aunt's house. And this female cousin of mine, she used to touch me down there in that house. And I don't know if she was watching me at some point or why I was back there, but when I was at their house, like, she would be touching on me. And I can just remember like her telling me to lay down on the bed and like open up my legs and stuff, and she would just like be playing with me down there. And I remember it hurting. I do remember that part. I remember it hurting. I remember a time when I was telling my godmother that it burned when I had to pee or whatever. And she was like, why it burn when you pee? You know? And she always told me, you know, tell me if somebody touch you down there. If somebody touch you down there, make sure don't nobody touch you down there. That's your Katie. Make sure you protect it and all kind of stuff like that. And she actually even used to tell me that before, but of course I was young. I didn't remember. So even with her telling me that, like, I don't know, I guess I was just scared. I was young. I don't remember why I didn't say anything, but I just know that I didn't tell anybody that was happening to me. I just came up and told my mom a few months ago about a similar situation. So, like, my stepfather also was a person who touched me. Father, I was 8 years old. I remember this age because he said it. And I just got out of the bathtub. My mama was working, and I don't know where my sister was. I think she was in the room. But my mom always worked 2 jobs, so she was working late. And he came out of, when I walked out of the bathroom, my towel had dropped. I was going straight across to my room, and I bent over and picked the towel up. And when I turned around, like, I could see him across the hall, like where I could see him at my mom's room. So it was like a few feet away, a good distance away from me or whatever. But he saw me, and I just like picked my towel up and went in the room and got dressed and stuff. So when I came out, he had pulled me, he had told me to come in my mama's room, come in their room, and I went in there, and he had pulled me on his lap, like to sit on his lap or whatever. Yeah, he said, I never seen an 8-year-old girl so fat down there before. And I just didn't know what to say. And then that's when he started touching me. He was like, he just touched my vagina. He just started touching me. And he said to me, you know, I felt uncomfortable right away. I just knew that wasn't right, obviously, because of the stuff that my godmother had told me. And he was just like, you know where I touched you at? And I thought, like, that's a strange thing, because we both know that that's not right. So why would you even, like, I was trying to make it seem like it didn't happen immediately. I was like, yeah, you touched me right there. And I was patting on my leg. And he was like, no, I touched you right there. And I just kind of like weirdly, like, giggled it off. And maybe that could have been enabling in some way. But I mean, at the end of the day, I was still a child. Yeah, really young age. And I just want to say, because this happens often and this has been on my mind, especially with the quarantine and everything happening, when a child is touched at a young age, it does something to their bodies. It does something to their mind also. For me, and one of the other signs of a child being abused sexually is if they have, like, if they know too much about sex at a young age, like they're over knowledgeable about sexual things. That was me, and I didn't understand. It sends a signal to your brain, like, even if the sexual feeling is unwanted, it's like an awakening, like you've been touched and you've been awakened, like that area has been awakened. So you become curious. And now it's deeply what happened to me. Like, I was just curious about sex. I was looking at porn all the time. I was watching videos. And when I say this was young, like, I was in middle school. I was really young. And I mean, I guess that's pretty common now. And maybe it was common then. I'm not sure. But I just know very young, I was interested in it. I want to say even younger than middle school, I was interested in pornography. I would read about it. I was interested in relationships. I think it was normal for me to love the idea of love and wanting to be together and wanting to be married and all kind of stuff like that. Like, I was a hopeless romantic my whole life. That's why I didn't take too much of anything in relationships. Like, if it wasn't gonna work, it just wasn't gonna work, because I can't settle. And then so I said all that to say that when you go through something like that at a young age as a child, it can affect you severely. Like, I didn't know why I had those urges. Like, I just had sexual urges. I was horny. Before even when I was a virgin, because I didn't lose my virginity until I was 17 years old. My first real serious relationship with my boyfriend, or whatever, my then boyfriend. I was just my friends call me a freak. Like, oh, Raven's such a freak. Like, I would just be talking about sex. I would make sexual jokes. Like, you know, when I see certain pictures or videos, like, I would just catch on to sexual innuendos. Like, it was all sorts of things like that. That was just like, why are you doing that? It's just like, I didn't even understand. I didn't know little things like that. Like, they would call it fresh back in the day. Like, I was fresh, but I wasn't fast at all. I just never understood why, like, I had those urges, like, why that was, you know, something for me. And then as an adult now, I think about it and I just wonder, like, is that related to the reason why it took me so long to actually be pleased when I had sex? Because when I actually first started having sex, I didn't enjoy it that much. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, this is what all the hype is about. It's cool and all that, but, you know. So I think that for me, that was part of it. Because I used to tense up a little bit. And then I had to train myself that, like, when I just relaxed, it didn't feel like that. Because I was just, like, relaxed. Like, I had to let my body know, like, it was okay. Like, you can trust it. Because when it came to people touching me, I wasn't relaxed unless it was my family members or people that I knew, you know. And I never understood or knew any of this until, again, my research and the work that I do. And I'm still processing some of it. Abusers and abused people, possibly, about 37% do go on to abuse others. And that's something else that I don't want to happen, because again, y'all, a lot of these victims, a lot of these predators, these sadists, these killers, these rapists, they're traumatized themselves to an extent. And I ain't saying that it's okay or it's inexcusable, but it's just a fact. I used to think that I wanted to be a counselor and I wanted to do the work that I do just because I have a great heart, and that is true. I do have a really great heart, but now I'm starting to realize, because it's the pain that I've been through, it's the pain that my mom has been through, my aunts, both of them, have been through, and it's that pain that I just don't want that for anybody else, especially another child. So because of that, I had to make this video, and because I know that sometimes women can go 20 years without ever addressing it, ever talking about it. Start breaking that cycle and helping them so that they don't go on to do it to more people, and then the cycle won't continue itself. So that's what I'm here for. And I think that sadly it has repeated itself in my family, because no one said anything. No one addressed it from a mental health standpoint. No one went to counseling. No one addressed it in a way that wasn't like, okay, so this is family involved, so we're not going to talk about it. It just makes things worse for them. So that's why I had to share my truth. I had to take my medicine and speak my truth, because this happens way too often. I remember when my little cousin had called me and we were texting, and she was telling me that her uncle had did something to her, and she told her mom and everybody, and it's like nobody kind of believed her. It was just like, oh, she's lying because of this, and I'm like, why would she make that up? Like, there's a whole graphic story. It just don't seem like a lie. She just didn't have no reason to me to make that up, and I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible for some children to have done that in the past for attention. I'm just saying that when that happens, family members should look into it instead of protecting their loved ones, because you don't want to see your brother or your uncle or your partner in that light. You gotta face the truth, because that, to them, it's easier to ignore that part, because it's gonna be harder to let them go or cut them out of your life or whatever. And I'm not here to judge anyone, but I just don't think it's right, and it's not fair to people that have to grow up and not understand why they messed up. So I just wanted to share that with y'all and encourage you to just be there for someone when they tell you something has happened to them, and don't re-victimize them. And if you're not an expert and you don't know what to say, you may not say the wrong thing, you may not say the right thing, you don't have to say anything at all. Sometimes just being there, being somebody they can listen to, or referring them, like you don't know them, or find them a 1-800 number where they can speak with an expert, or Google counselors in the area. And I do understand that sometimes in the past counselors could have been re-victimizing because they haven't had the proper training either. And that's another thing that I'm so glad that the social work profession is working on, and that mental health professionals in general are working on that and getting the necessary training to deal with people who have been traumatized so that they don't be victimized. I think that that's truly important, and I'm glad that that's turning around. So we just continue to be there for each other and pray and strengthen each other. The other night when I was talking about this and I was thinking about this, it made me cry, but I'm so glad that I was able to stay strong during this video and keep it together, because like I said, I done been through that, I done grown from it, and I just want to be supportive now. Thank you so much for tuning into my video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Like I said, this is only the beginning of my trauma series, so go ahead and connect with me for more.